In this video, I want to show you my favorite piece of equipment that you can use right there from your home for under $30. Hey guys, thanks so much for stopping by. And if you're new here, I create all sorts of content on how to lose weight and gain muscle from the comfort of your own home. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure to check out more of our videos and our website, rickerfit.com, linked in the description below. So let's jump into it. So today we're going to be talking about my favorite piece of equipment for under $30, which is resistance bands. Now there's all sorts of types of resistance bands, but what I'm specifically talking about are these types of resistance bands. On Amazon, you can usually get them around $20 to $30. And I'll have those linked in the description below. They're the kind that come with the little attachments right there, so you can add more bands or take bands off of them depending on what exercise you're doing. So you can attach the handle onto each band depending on how much weight you want on there. They usually run from about 10 to 50 pounds. Sometimes the bands are a little bit different in sizes, but always the yellow is always 10 pounds, no matter what. They also always come with a door anchor or a door stop. This is what that looks like. Some people call it a donut. So you pull the bands through this loop, and you put this on the other side of the door and it stops it. So you can put this at the top of the door, the side of the door, or the bottom of the door. And so that way you can actually hit your muscles from different angles that you can't necessarily hit otherwise. And that's one reason why this is one of my favorite pieces of equipment, because you can literally do exercises like face pulls that you can't necessarily do with dumbbells or free weights. You can literally only do face pulls with a cable machine, which cost a lot of money. So if you have one at your house, I am actually a little jealous. If you don't want to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars for the cable machine, then just grab you some of these bands because you can do them from the top of your door easily. They also come with this, which is, I like to call it an anklet. I think it's funny, but it goes around your ankles or your wrist and you can loop it through like that. And then you attach it to the door. And from there, you can do all sorts of different exercises. One of my favorite ones to do with my clients is glute raises with the band attached. Makes it a lot more difficult, and if you're looking to build that booty, then I definitely recommend doing these. So let's talk about the different kinds of exercises that you can do with bands that you may not be able to do necessarily otherwise. So first off, you don't need the door anchor. You can do them under your feet. Now you can use both feet or you can use just one foot if you want it to be just a little bit easier. You need to take off a little more tension. Some of my favorite exercises include band rows, band upright rows, and band lateral raises. My favorite exercise from the top of the door is face pulls, what I mentioned earlier, because it just works your posture, it works that upper back in ways that is really difficult to do with free weights. Then you can also work your triceps from a lot of different angles, like a tricep pull down or a tricep overhead extension. And let me tell you, band tricep exercises are extremely difficult. If you haven't tried them, give them a shot. Then let's take the bands down to the middle of the door. When you move the bands down to the middle of the door, you can hit your muscles from more of a horizontal type position. So my favorite exercises to do there are band rows and band chest press. You also can do flies and reverse flies from the door. That's something you can do with dumbbells, but they just don't feel as natural to the body as using bands. And finally, you can put the bands under the door. You can do the glute raises like I mentioned earlier, which are my favorite under the door, but you can also do your curls, your upright rows, your lateral raises, all sorts of different exercises like that. Let's talk about the setbacks of using bands. The one primary setback of using bands is that you really don't know how much weight you're using. So yes, a band might say it's 10 pounds, but is it the same resistance at the bottom of the lift as compared to the top of the lift? No, definitely not. So if you're doing a curl at the bottom, it's going to be way easier than at the top. So there's more of a range on the resistance that you're getting from the band rather than an individual weight, which isn't necessarily as good for tracking as using something like a 40-pound dumbbell when you know it's always going to be 40 pounds no matter what. The other setback is that when you're using it under your feet or on the door, you have to make sure that they're balanced. You don't want to have one side a little tighter than the other. So you always have to make sure they're balanced, and sometimes that can be tricky to do. So you have to always make sure it's balanced. That way you're getting as equal of a resistance on both sides of your body as possible. So now let's talk about the benefits that bands give you that I believe are really hard to get with other pieces of equipment. So remember how I mentioned the tension gets harder over time? Well, that's actually amazing. So when you're using something like dumbbells, and let's take our curl for example, whenever the dumbbell is furthest away from the axis, the moment arm is the longest, which means the dumbbell is furthest away from the primary joint being used. That's when it's hardest. So on a curl, it's about halfway up. On a bench press, there's that sticking point I'm sure you've heard of, usually a few inches off of your chest. Well, with bands, it's the complete opposite. The further into the lift you get, the harder it gets. So you're actually working the muscles in a slightly different way than you would be with free weights. It'd be like if you're curling a 10-pound dumbbell, it would have its most resistance here, and then it turned to 15 pounds and then 20 pounds and then 30 pounds as you got to the top. So obviously that would be really difficult. So what I love about bands, and a lot of my clients have mentioned this as well, so it doesn't feel like you're picking up something heavy, but rather it feels like an existing extension of your muscles, so it feels more natural than picking up weights does. So a lot of my clients that have previous injuries love using the bands. They are phenomenal for that, for just hitting your muscles from different angles that you may not be able to hit it otherwise. So that's a brief rundown of my favorite piece of equipment for under $30 that you can buy today on Amazon, link in the description below, and use them from your house. I believe you're gonna love them, so give them a shot. And hey, remember, you don't need any equipment at all to start your fitness journey. In fact, I have a video on how to lose weight fast from home with no equipment necessary, linked right here. And hey, let me know in the comments, have you tried resistance bands before? If you have, what's your favorite exercise with them? Guys, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.